Hello and welcome to lesson 3.2 of TextLearn.com's Intro to Java series. I'm Kevin Olson and I'm going to be guiding you through this task. Lesson 3.2 is on decision making. We will be talking about conditional if-then statements. If-then conditions. If-then conditional statements can be written in Java to allow you to compare values and determine which code to execute. For example, there are many instances in Java or in any programming language, anything that deals with computer really, will want the computer to be able to make decisions based on input. So if, say, one number is greater than 100, we might want to do one thing, and if the number is less than 100, we might want to do something else. So if-then conditional statements would allow us to do this. So our code in our program kind of goes through here like this. Then it goes into this if condition, and this condition, let me write that out. So we have our if condition there, and if this condition, which is a Boolean, is true or false, is yes. So if the condition is met, then it is true. We go on to the then statements, and if it is false, then the condition is not met. We go down to these else statements. Now we don't always have to have else statements, but they are very useful and you will see them a lot. It is possible though to just have an if-then and not an if-then else. So we have our if-then, and if-then else, and we finally, after everything is executed, it goes on its merry way and our program keeps going from whatever's outside of this if block. So let me bring up Eclipse and I will show you this in more detail. Alright, let me delete all this code that I have in here and we'll start over from scratch. Okay, so I already created a program or a project called decision making, and we're going to be using this to make decisions. It just has a main method and a class. So for our first example, we're going to do an if-then. So we're going to have an integer, x, and we're going to set that equal to 5. Now what this program's going to do, very simple, it's going to check if x is equal to 5. So if x is equal to 5, and note that I have to put 2 equal signs in here. That's because when you're checking to see if two things are equal in Java, and this applies to a lot of other programming languages as well, we're going to have to use 2 equal signs because the 1 equal sign is reserved for assigning value. So this is setting x equal to 5. We don't want to set x equal to 5 here. We want to check if x is equal to 5. 2 very different things there. Then we have these curly braces. So we have an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. We put the first one in and Eclipse will automatically throw that ending brace in for us. Now we can just do a systemout.println x is equal to 5, and that statement with a semicolon, and run the program. X is equal to 5. So that worked the way we would have expected it to, because x is in fact equal to 5. Now if we change x to be equal to 6, we run that. You'll see that nothing happens, nothing is printed out because the condition was not met here and we never got to this line of code. Java just saw that this is false, so it skipped this part. Now what we can do is the else statement that I was talking about. So we have the if and the else, and they all kind of go together. And this can be system out println. So in the condition we have x is equal to 5. Now the only other possibility then, if that condition is not met, is that x must not be equal to 5. So we run this program again, and it says x must not be equal to 5. Go back, put 5 in again, and we get x is equal to 5. So that is if and else. That's how we use those guys, okay? Let's take a look at the website at some of the other equality and relational operators, and that's what these are referred to as. These is an equality operator, and some of these other ones are relational operators. The not equal to is the next operator that we're going to take a look at, and that is an exclamation point followed by an equal sign. So this is the opposite of equal to. It's not equal to. So if x is not equal to 5, we can print out a message saying x is not equal to 5. We run that, And of course, nothing comes out. We change it to a 10. And then we get the message x is not equal to 5 because this condition in here was satisfied. This Boolean condition is true. So that is not equal to. Less than and greater than are the next ones that we will be discussing. So if x is greater than, and we use the caret symbol there, so that's kind of pointing to the right there. So if x is greater than 5, and that's just like how it is in any math class, we can print out the message that x is greater than 5. Let's give that a run. X is greater than 5, so that worked perfectly. If we set it equal to 5, it's not going to print out anything because 5 is not greater than 5. 5 is equal to 5. And of course, if we set it to be 2, 1, it won't print out anything because of course 1 is also less than 5 and not equal to 5. Now if we change the sign here to a less than sign, so if x is less than 5, we can say x is less than 5 and print that out. X is less than 5 because 1 is less than 5. This is pretty common sense stuff. I'm sure I don't need to go into less than and greater than with you very much, but I just want to make sure you understand this important syntax here, okay? So now let's say x is equal to 5. Alright, and nothing's printed out, just as we would expect. Now the next operator that we need is the less than or equal to and the greater than or equal to. So these are the last two that we're going to talk about. And these allow us to check if a number is less than or equal to 5 or greater than or equal to whatever. And that's simply the less than sign followed by the equal sign or the greater than sign followed by the equal sign. So now we can say x is less than 5 or equal to 5. We go ahead and run that. And it does print it out this time because 5 is in fact equal to 5. Same thing, we can do greater than or equal to 5. X is greater than 5 or equal to 5, and it'll print that out. And we change it to a 6, and it'll also work with that, of course. So those are the equality and relational operators. And we already discussed how the else statement works. So let's just go back and review that real quick. So if x is greater than or equal to 5, we have that. Now what is the only other thing that could happen? If x is not greater than or equal to 5, then x must be less than 5. So we can system out print line, x must be less than 5. And with semicolon, run that. X is greater than or equal to 5. We set that to -10. X must be less than 5. Alright, so that is, in summary, all of that you really need to know as far as that goes for now. Next thing I'd like to talk about is else-if statements. So in addition to the else statements that we talked about, it's also possible to have else-if statements. They function similarly to else statements, but they also have conditions. So if the first condition is not met, Java will check the second, third, fourth, fifth condition, and so on. You can have as many else-ifs as you want. And the example below quite simply prints out whether the value is equal to 1, 2, or not one of those two values. So let's take a look at this example here. Get my pen up and running here. Okay, so we have public static void main string args, our main method, and here we assign 2 to the value of x. So that is set, and the first condition here checks if x is equal to 1. Well, that is false, so we'll just put a big F there, so that's false, so that's not going to get executed. So it's not going to say x is equal to 1. Else if x is equal to 2, it prints out that x is equal to 2. So this is the one that will be true and that will get executed in this case. And if neither of those conditions are met, so if x is not equal to 1 and x is not equal to 2, then it prints out a message saying that x is not equal to 1 or 2. So if instead, say for example, we went in here and we set x equal to 3, what would happen is this condition would not be met. So that would be not met. This would also not be met. And then Java would go out and print out this final one here. X is not equal to 1 or 2. Okay? So that is how we can use else ifs. Next topic, nested if statements. So it is possible to add if statements within if statements, kind of like Inception. This is known as nesting. This allows you to check for multiple things. The example below demonstrates the age of the user based on if they're at or under the age of 10. So this program just kind of takes an integer age and a boolean is male. So we're looking at the age and sex of a person defined by these two variables. And then we're just checking to see if they're under the age of 10. So if they're 10 or younger, we print out a message. Well, we don't print out a message yet. If they're under the age of 10, we go in here and we say if they're a male, then we know that they are a male and that they are under the age of 10. And if they are not a male, then they must be a female, but they are also still under the age of 10 because this code got executed. So then we know that the else statement, of course, would be this user is a female under the age of 10. So that makes sense. Now, if the age is not under 10, it'll skip all of this code here and jump right to the else statement and print out the message the user is over the age of 10. So that is how we can use a nested if statements to kind of add additional layers of conditions to our program. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is the multiple conditions with and or. So these are the logical and operators. Right here, these two and signs. And we can use these to check if two conditions are true at once. So if we want to create an if statement that checks to see if the user is a male and the user is under the age of 10 or at or under the age of 10, we can do it all in one line without having to nest it like we did here. So we can put these two guys actually in the same condition using these and operators. And I believe I do that here. Yes, I do. So if their age is less than or equal to 10, and they are a male, we print out the message the user is a male under the age of 10. So we achieve the same type of thing we did in the last example without having to use the nesting. And then else if, so I'm using an else if here, another good example of that. So if the age is less than 10 and they are a male, or they are not a male, so if is male is equal to false, then we print out a message that the user must be a female under the age of 10. And finally, the only other thing that we have is this else statement which says the user is over the age of 10. And because we are not checking to see if they are a male or female in this else, all we know is that they're over the age of 10. We have no way of knowing from the printout whether the user is male or female. And the next operator we'll talk about is the or operator. So when we're using this and operator, these two ampersand signs, that means that both of these conditions must be met. The or operator means only one of the conditions has to be met. So if any of the conditions are met, we can essentially, Java treats it as the whole thing being true. So in this example here, we use these vertical bars here for the or operator. That's what it is. So if the age is less than or equal to 10, or they are a male, then what do we know? Well, we know that we know a few things. They can be a child under the age of 10. They can be a male under the age of 10. They can be a female under the age of 10, or they can be a male over the age of 10 because of this or operator here. Because if they're a male, then we know that they are a male. So then it'll print out the message says the user is a male or he or she is under the age of 10. So the only thing that doesn't check for is if they are a female over the age of 10, then this would not get printed out. So the only other situation there with the else statement would be that the user must be a female over the age of 10, because that is the only thing that remains, that is the only remaining possibility out of the 4. That is how we use the or operator. And you can combine these. You can use more than just 2 if you want to. You can use 3, 4, 5. You can put however many conditions you want into these statements as you need to. So if we wanted to say, for example, if their age is less than 10 and they're a male, and we could have another boolean, they like ice cream, So we could do if their age is less than 10 and is male equals true and likes ice cream equals true, then we could do something with that. So you can check an unlimited number of things. You just have to keep adding this kind of the two and operators or the or operator in there. All right. So this is combining multiple operators, which is what I was just kind of talking about. And we can do this by kind of grouping things with parentheses. If you remember back when I was talking about arithmetic, how we can make Java do certain things first with arithmetic by putting them in parentheses, the same kind of applies to these conditional statements. So in this example, we have if the user is a male and their age is greater than or equal to 30, or their hair color, which is a character, is equal to L, so L is representing blonde in this situation. That's just some random arbitrary kind of system for hair color that I came up with. So now we have their age, whether they're a male or female, and their hair color. So now we're tracking 3 different things. So we can put is a male and age is greater than or equal to 30. So we're checking if both of those conditions are met, or if their hair color is blonde. So that way we can kind of have these 2 things and this thing over here. So we're checking multiple things at once. We're using an and we're also using an or in the same condition. And that's possible because of these parentheses. So that prints out a message that the user is a male over age 30 and or they have blonde hair. So that's the only thing that could possibly happen there. It's possible that they are a male over the age of 30 with blonde hair. It's possible that they are a male over the age of 30 with brown hair. It's possible that they're a male over the age of 30 with red hair. It is possible that they're a male under the age of 30 and they have blonde hair. And it's also possible that they are a female at any age with blonde hair. So there's a lot of possibilities there. And then I have an else if hair colors are, then we just say the user is not a male over the age of 30 and their hair color is red. So how did we come to that conclusion? Well, Java's not going to go through, once it gets to the first if and it realizes that this is true, it executes this code and it's not going to go through the next else's. So it's not like you can have multiple else's with different conditions and it'll just, go through each one and check each one. Once one of the conditions is met in any of these, so once this first condition in the first if statement is met, this whole else if down here gets ignored. So we know that the first if statement says the user is a male, they're over age 30, and or they have blonde hair. So that means that they must be not a male over the age of 30 and their hair color must be red. So that is what we can discern from the else statement there, okay? That pretty much concludes this lesson. I hope you found it useful. I know it was a little bit of a longer one. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about the switch statements. I am going to try to get a review exercise up here so you can go in and kind of get more familiar with how these if and then and else if and all that stuff works. So be sure to check out the website. I'm going to have that up shortly. Thanks for watching and take care.